A warm welcome to all my students. Today we shall study about social movements. In this unit you will learn about meaning, nature, origin and evolution of social movement, environment movement, women's movement, alcohol prohibition movement, farmers movement, workers movement, untouchability prohibition movements. These are the topic we are going to learn in today's session. Social movement meaning and nature. Social movement is a social process that is related to social mobility, changes and transitions. A social movement is a planned one, which means every movement has a goal and plan to achieve it through a program of action. This movement is natural as they have been happened and will be happening in future too. They have been a part of human society since it is evolution. Social movement is a planned one, which means every movement has a goal and plan to achieve it. It is natural for any organism to oppose things when something challenges its very existence. Human beings are also a part of this process. Many movements have been taking place and have taken place opposing exploitation at personal as well as community level. Resistance offered at personal level is not called as social movement. A social movement is community-based program. Among various community processes, social movement is important and unique. So remember children, it is natural for any organism to oppose things when something challenges its very existence. A social movement can be at the personal level or at community level. But resistance offered at personal level is not as social movement. It will not be considered as a social movement. A social movement is community-based program. A social movement is social platform that enables people to showcase their needs and visions. People who participate in these social movements undergo many unexpected changes, go through new experience and develop new social practice. An example of this is that of Mahatma Gandhi. He believed in the beginning that God is truth. After he interacted with people like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and others, finally he stated, truth is God. This is a result of Gandhiji's interaction with various personalities in various social movements. Hence, every social movement creates new models of social changes. Remember the statement in the beginning, Mahatma Gandhi believed that God is truth. But later when he reacted with the great personalities like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and others, he finally stated that truth is God. So every social movement creates a new models of social changes. Before the 19th century, most of the environment resource was a public property. With the emergence of industrialization, government and private companies started claiming ownership on them. Many legal provisions were brought in to control such initiatives. Before 19th century, most of the environment resource was a public property. But once industrialization emerged, governments and private companies started claiming ownership on them, on these land. So due to that, many legal provisions were brought under the control. Prohibitions were put on use of natural fuel. This curtailed the access of tribal people who are dependent on this in their natural settings. The prohibition was also put on natural fuel. The tribal people were dependent on these land for their natural settings. Many reformers raised their voice against this. The farmers' movements, environment movements, women's movements, and other social movements have to be understood from this background. Origin and evolution of movements. Usually in our daily life, we come across many minor frictions in the social life. Many of them arise there itself and vanish later. They create temporary mobility for a movement, and these are recognized as the beginning of the social movement. At later stage, mob assembles, leading to mob violence, and many a time without any favorable circumstance, also violence starts. First, we will learn about mob. Mob is a collection of people which gather temporarily around a common interest. A mob violence is a collection of people who have assembled at particular point without any prior plan and gather to express some decision. A group of people who have collected in front of a theatre to watch, or a group of people who have gathered around to know more about an accident are example of mobs. So remember, mob is a collection of people, that is a group of people who gather temporarily around a common interest. And such examples like a group of people gathered in front of a theatre to collect ticket, or a group of people gathered around to know more about an accident. This is the example for the mob. Many times, unstrained, the behavior of people gathered in a mob reflects social shortcomings of that particular societies. Often people express their dissatisfaction with many social institutions. People also express their dissatisfaction with many government policies, attitudes, and decision on specific programs. Mob reflects social shortcomings of that of particular society. People express their dissatisfaction. That is, when people are not happy, they express their concern. So they may react against some social institutions. People also express their dissatisfaction against many government policies, attitudes, and decision on specific programs. Mob violence. Mob violence is another example of mob behavior. When the behavior of a mob turns violent, then it is called a mob violence. The previous slide I have explained about mob. Mob is a group of people gathering temporarily. But here what happens when the mob violence takes place, when the mob react to the situation in a violent method. So when the behavior of a mob turns violent, then it is called as mob violence. There could be no unity in mob violence. Here, anti-social elements lead the mob towards violence, destroying public property. They create confusion in the beginning. Out of confusion, violence grows out. Many times, mob violence results in major deaths. So once the mob converts into a mob violence, it can lead many problems. First, there is no unity among them. Here, anti-social elements lead the mob towards a violence, destroying public property, and creates confusion in the beginning, and later it can lead to major death. So remember, there is no unity among the mob, and this mob is led by anti-social elements, and they destroy public property, they create confusions, and later it leads to major death. There could be no definitive reasons for the behavior of mob in violent mood. They create a serious law and order situation. Communal violence, racial violence, caste violence, political violence are some of the examples. This violence has now become active in rural area also. Many issues, caste, land and religion, have become the motivating factors. Mob violence leads to dominance of anti-social elements. Mob violence have no definitive reasons. They create a serious law and order situation. These mob violence may take due to communal violence, racial violence, caste violence, political violence. These violence is also seen in rural area. Many issues like caste, land, religion. In mob violence, the dominance of anti-social element is also seen. Mob violence does not last for long duration. They come to an end at one point of time. Mob violence is controllable through effective use of police, military and other agencies of government. Mob violence does not last for a long duration, but these mob violence has to be controlled through police, military or other agencies of the government. See the picture of a mob violence. This is mob. Here you can see the picture of mob violence. This is temporarily people gather as an accident has taken place. People gather in that place. But here it is a picture of a mob violence where finally it is controlled by the police and military force. So this is a picture of mob violence. Environmental movements. Environmental movements are the scientific movements aimed at preserving the biological system. The scientific protest aimed at curtailing the various activity that are polluting the earth, air and water. They never appear instantly. They are the result of many years of exploitation of nature and tribal people. For example, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha was formed in the year 1973. But before 1930, tribal people of Jharkhand had opposed the action of companies that rendered thousands of tribal people displaced due to mining activities. Jharkhand Mukti Morcha is one such result of these agitations. Environmental movements are the scientific movements. Their main intention is to protect environment. That means to preserve the biological system. They try to protect the environment. So, one such example is Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, which took place in the year 1973. But before 1930, the tribal people of Jharkhand were opposed the action of the company that rendered thousands of tribal people displaced due to mining activities. Chipko Movement. The government had issued license to cut down 2,500 trees belonging to Advani village of Theri Garhwal district. The women who learned about this decided to hug the trees in order to protect them so that the environment remains protected. This movement of hugging is called as Chipko Movement, stated in 1974. Though a woman was instrumental behind this movement, its effects were long-lasting. Due to this movement, the permission given to cut the trees was withdrawn. Chipko Movement, which took place in Theri Garhwal district. The women who learned about this decided to hug the tree in order to protect them so that environmental remains protected. It is Sundarlal Bahuguna who played an important role in Chipko Movement. He is Sundarlal Bahuguna, who played a very important role in Chipko Movement. Chipko Movement started in the year 1974. Women was instrumental behind this movement. Apical Movement of Karnataka. Apical Movement was started in 1983 by the villagers of Salyani. The local people opposed the move of the contractor to cut the trees in Kalasa forest. They stood hugging the trees. The people launched this movement to protect trees from smuggling. They also aimed at increasing awareness among the people about importance of growing forest. Apical Movement. Apical Movement started in the year 1983 in the village of Salyani. The contractor had come to cut the trees in Kalasa forest. The people stood hugging the trees. The people launched this movement to protect trees from smuggling, and they aimed at increasing awareness among the people about the importance of growing forest. Next we will start with Narmada Bachao Andolan. The huge dam built across the river Narmada in Gujarat under Sardar Sarovar project displaced local tribal people, as scientific studies found that dam could be affect the ecological balance of the area. The people agitated against the dam under the leadership of Mera Patkar. This movement had been going on for a long period. Mera Patkar, who led Narmada Bachao Andolan. Their main intention is to protect the environment. The huge dam built across the river Narmada under Sardar Sarovar project displaced local tribal people. The scientific study also shows that it could affect the sensitive ecological balance of the river. So people agitated against this project. This movement have been going on for a long period of time. Silent Valley Movement. A dam was proposed to build in Silent Valley of Palghat of Kerala. The building of dam threatened the ecological balance of the Silent Valley. People from Kerala Sahitya Parishad. People from Kerala Sahitya Parishad and wildlife enthusiasts opposed this project. Finally, the movement was successful in stalling the dam and protecting the Silent Valley's ecological balance. See the picture of the Silent Valley. The Silent Valley is located in Palghat of Kerala. A dam was proposed to build in Silent Valley, and the building of a dam threatened the sensitive ecological balance of the Silent Valley. People from Kerala, Sahitya Parishad and wildlife enthusiasts opposed this project, and finally they were successful to save their environment. Coastal Karnataka Environment Movement. People of Mangalore opposed the Mangalore refineries and petrochemical plant which discharge harmful chemicals into the sea, threatening the local environment. This movement also opposed the establishment of Nandikur thermal power plant near Udupi and Special Economic Zone. Coastal Karnataka Environment Movement. It took place in Mangalore, where people were against the refineries and petrochemical limited. And here it was a threat for the sea, as the chemical discharged from the factories could be a threat for the sea and local environment. So people opposed it and to protect the environment. movement opposing Kaiga nuclear power plant. This move to oppose the establishment of Kaiga nuclear power plant was undertaken by the people of coastal Karnataka in Uttar Kannada district under the leadership of Shivaram Karanth. It was argued that the establishment of nuclear plant at Kaiga, vast deforestation takes place, and also the threat of pollution from nuclear radiation could spoil numerous species in the ecosystem. Hence, the movement opposed the establishment of Kaiga nuclear reactor. Movement opposing Kaiga nuclear power plant. The move to oppose establishment of Kaiga nuclear power plant was undertaken by the people of coastal Karnataka under the leadership of Shivaram Karanth. It was argued that with the establishment of nuclear plant at Kaiga, vast deforestation takes place, and also a threat of pollution from nuclear radiation could spoil numerous species in the ecosystem. Hence, the movement opposed the establishment of Kaiga nuclear reactor. The people like Medha Patkar, Sundarlal Bahuguna, Shivaram Karanth, others have agitated for a long time to achieve success in this social movement. Only in case of environment movement, a mass hunger protest have also taken place. Ecology is not an independent science, it is a part of life. Today's assignment: what is meant by social movement? Write the definition of social movement. When collective behavior is organized and directed towards a specific goal and aims to bring about social change, it is called social movement. Second question, state the features of mobs. Now here you will write 6 points here. So first you will write the definition of mob violence. That is, mob violence is another example for mob behavior. When the behavior of mob turns violent, then it is called mob violence. Then you will write there is no unity. Anti-social element leads a mob towards violence. They destroy public property, create confusion, and leads to major deaths. With this you will write these points also. No definitive reasons for the behavior. Serious law and order. So these are the points you are going to write in this question. Third question, why did Chipko movement take place? You will write in detail about Chipko movement. In Chipko movement, I have told you about Sundarlal Bahuguna. Though it is not mentioned in the textbook regarding Sundarlal Bahuguna, you are supposed to write it when you explain about Chipko movement. The government had issued license to cut down 2,500 trees belonging to Advani village of Tehri Garhwal district. The women who learnt about this decided to hug the trees in order to protect them so that environment remains protected. This movement of hugging is called as Chipko movement, stated in 1974. Though a woman was instrumental behind this movement, its effects were long lasting. Due to this movement, the permission given to cut the trees was withdrawn. So this sentence has to be written in the answer. The next assignment, why was the construction of Kaiga nuclear power plant opposed? So remember here children, regarding the Kaiga power plant you are going to write it here. The move to oppose the establishment of Kaiga nuclear plant was undertaken by the people of coastal Karnataka in Uttar Kannada district under the leadership of Shivaram Karanth. It was argued that with the establishment of nuclear plant at Kaiga, vast deforestation takes place and also the threat of pollution from nuclear radiation could spoil numerous species in the ecosystem. Hence, the movement opposed the establishment of the Kaiga nuclear reactor. Thank you children. In the next class, the remaining topic will be explained. Thank you.